All right. So good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
And we're going to
morning.
take a little different approach this morning and start going forward instead of reviewing. And if we get to the end and we have the time, we can review then. But because I wanted to talk about styling, I did make the announcement, and I want to remind everybody that there will be no class. Okay, there we go. There'll be no class next Tuesday because we'll have a bunch of other Zoom events next Tuesday. So it'll be 2 weeks before we actually start up again after today. Um, and so I wanted to talk a little bit about the styling. And I just mentioned briefly there's two ways to play a song. One's to play a song, and sometimes we do that. Sometimes we get a book and we just page through and we just play songs. And then there's playing an arrangement. And I can tell you that playing an arrangement, which is why we have this styling class to learn how to make arrangements on our own. Playing an arrangement is a totally different feeling than playing songs. Songs is like, I would equate it to like going out to play, just a hobby, having fun, lots of different tunes. That's playing songs. And that's a very viable, important part to your hobby is that you just play songs, just have fun. And I make a point in my help sessions of saying, um, do you play for fun every day? And you'd be surprised how many people have told me no, they don't. And I'm like, you need to play for fun. If you're just going at trying to learn a new song and quote unquote practicing or working at it, that's a important part of your hobby. But an integral part of your hobby is to play for fun. And that's why you have the hobby, because it is fun. So the difference between an arrangement, a styling arrangement, and a song is quite different. And how you feel after you've done played an arrangement, it's a different kind of feeling. And I'm going to take a breather right now and just ask you if you want to unmute yourself and you have done arrangements, describe to us how the feeling is different if you can.
Well, it's Gail. I've done arrangements because when I look at the songs that I like, they're too simple. I mean, after these years, I feel like I want to move up, and the song is just so simple. And making an arrangement embellishes the song, and it makes it sound, as Marco likes to say, more professional, but just fuller and a richer sound. And and I've learned now that once I make the arrangement and I really like it, I memorize it on a stick because I don't want to have to start all over again and create an arrangement. But
That's good, Gail. Thank you. And it has a different feeling when you complete the arrangement. It's like that's a feeling of accomplishment.
right.
Not the same feeling that we get when we just play for fun, just play songs.
It's like the icing on the cake.
I'm sorry?
It's like the icing on a cake.
Yes, it is. Except if you were me, I don't like icing. But then, but then again, it's okay because I don't like cake either. But yes, it is the icing on the cake. And there's a different feeling of accomplishment. And that's what I wanted to just spend a few moments today talking about because I think that you will feel more fulfilled when we do the styling arrangements and maybe you're doing one arranging for yourself applicable to something you want to do. That's great. Um, it's a little more time and effort, of course, but when you get it just the way you like it, and you finish it, you feel like you've done something, like a production, if you will. And that really makes the higher level of our hobby be more important to us. So I just wanted to give you a few thoughts on that, and then I wanted to hear any of your comments. Does anyone else have anything to say?
Joanie,
Yes, hi Jan.
th- hi. I was going to say, I've done I've done arrangements on a couple songs because the the song setup that's in the instrument, I don't like it. So
Uh,
I do my own because I like I like to change it.
yeah, I agree. I use song setup kind of as a springboard, if you will. Sometimes I just want to see what the chefs at Lowry decided to do, and most times, I can't say most times I don't like it, but quite frequently I could come up with something different that I like to do. The other thing I get frustrated with song setup because I know that as hobbyists you forget this, but when you use song setup, it brings on a song to fit, I mean, a sound to fit that particular rhythm style. Only one sound. So when you go to change sounds, and it's very natural for hobbyists to forget this, when you go to change your sounds, you're now changing general preset sounds. Your style setup or rhythm preset, if you will, in different instruments is not on. And that's the one objection I have to song setup. You only get one sound, and then from there, you have to remember to turn on your rhythm preset or turn on your style setup, whatever yours is called. So that's a pretty major point for me, because what happens is you either forget and you're into general presets and you push a number 5 and you get, church times, or you just stay on that one sound the whole time, which that's not good either. That's kind of boring. So I use the song setup out of curiosity as a springboard sometimes, and you certainly can use it to learn from it. That's for sure. Gives you ideas on what combinations they put together, what sounds, what styles. That's a good thing. Also, most song setups, it appears that they use an intro one most of the time, and we have more variety than that. So that's another thought to have in the back of your mind as well. So that kind of I started thinking about it last week because I asked myself, so why are we doing this styling class? It's not just for you to learn how to play a song. I mean, that's okay, and if you use it for that purpose and it pushes you to learn something new each week, that's good. Learning is great. On the other hand, it's more than that. You want to learn the styling techniques because that's going to allow you to make it applicable to an arrangement you would like to make for yourself. So I have, there's 3 different kinds of arrangements as I was thinking about it. And sometimes we apply more than one in the same arrangement. But the first way to have an arrangement is slow and maybe without rhythm. That's one style of arranging. Another style of arranging is with a rhythm or with a jingle. We put a rhythm with it. And the third one, which I'm sure you've seen me do several times, is I do a combination of both. So I may start with no rhythm and then bring in the rhythm, and maybe I'll end with the rhythm, or maybe I'll take the rhythm away. So I'm combining 2 different style styles, if you will, into one arrangement. And so it doesn't have to all be the same. And I think as hobbyists, we're a little remiss at not wanting to change a whole lot. Like, let's just let it be what it is. But the changing keeps it interesting for you. And, it's easy to fall into the trap of, and for me too, even planning for a styling class is okay. They're going to get a new song. Okay. I'm going to make an arrangement. Same old, same old. And that's why each week I look for a different skill set to give you, and I look for opportunities for you to grow and pick up something that you can apply to other music that you really enjoy playing. So, the styling technique that I use quite frequently is a combination of no rhythm in the beginning, then bring the rhythm in, and possibly ending with no rhythm or possibly ending with a rhythm. And that's a little bit about what I'm going to do today. The song for today that we're doing is The Glory of Love. Okay. And I'm just looking there to bring somebody back in who's running a little late, I guess. And The Glory of Love, I listened to this on YouTube just to see what I had heard. I heard a Lowry artist do this as a very slow arrangement. And I have to confess, when I first heard it, I really didn't like it. It just, to me, I guess I wasn't in the frame of mind for it to be meaningful. I was in the frame of mind of wanting to hear like a little jingle, and I didn't get that from the arrangement. But last week when I was preparing, I listened on YouTube to the Velvetones and the Five Keys, and both of them did very slow arrangements, very expressive. You can look it up for yourself. Never did really bring in the boom chicky boom stuff at all. Um, the way I learned the song "The Glory of Love" is I learned it with a background rhythm, so I really appreciate the rhythm. But then last week I challenged myself and said, well, how can you do this combinational style where we do a little bit without and then a little bit with? Now, my first attempt was to ask you to go back to two hands on the upper keyboard. And then I said, I don't think I want to do that. Because the people who are going to do that are people who basically play full chords or pretty close to it. And so somebody who can't do that can easily be discouraged. Now, when we were using two hands on the upper keyboard, we were just using individual fingers. You didn't really have to know your chords. But the way I was going to start it for The Glory of Love, you were going to have to know your chords, which kind of prejudice those who just play easy play chords. And I didn't want to do that. So I am going to start the song with no rhythm, and I am going to use the easy button so that anybody playing on any instrument would be included. If you are so inclined or developed enough that you want to play the chords in your left hand on the upper keyboard, we can do that. We have to manipulate one button, as a matter of fact, that I'll tell you about, but you can do that. But I use the easy button to prove to myself that if I'm just a simple hobbyist and I go ahead and use the features that are on my instrument, I'm still going to sound great. And that's what I was out to prove. So we are in this particular song, it's in the key of G. I hope you have it in the right key. And I'm going to give you some things to write in, if you will. The beginning musical phrases, you've got to give a little, take a little. Well, where little is, it goes from a low D to a high D, correct? Shake your heads. Okay, good. There you can do a glissando from D to D. Just put your finger sideways, D to D. And the way you draw it in is a squiggly line between the two G's, and that tells you, gliss. Okay? That's on line 2 for me. And on the high D, the chord is G in the box, but above the box it says G7. You're going to get better sound, and maybe your ear won't hear it while you're playing it, but I promise you, if you record, you'll hear a difference. So what I did on the first beat, I played a G chord. And then on the third beat, that's where I played the G7. There's two ways to look at sevens. Some people just intersperse sevens anywhere, anytime. But there's a reason for a seventh, and it's kind of a leading, what we call a leading tone. And so sometimes it's great to hear the triad chord itself and then add that seventh. And in Gloria Love, you will hear that, especially when there's no rhythm on. You'll really hear it then. But like I said, the only way you can hear what you're actually doing is to record yourself. And you're not recording to listen, did I play an A or a B? That's not what recording's about at all. Recording is really about being able to hear what the instrument's doing. Even so, I can go so far as to say, if you don't want to record two hands, then just record the left and listen to what's there. And then maybe just record the right and listen to what's there, so that you can really hear what the instrument can do for you. We only have 10 fingers, and our fingers are limited to how well we can play. But how well we can sound is a totally different story. And that's what the features on the Lowrys do for us. So we want to stay in that vein. So I detained that G7 2 beats later, because then you could really hear it. On line 3, the words are break a little. And on little, the G note, I played a C minor chord there. We started on a C chord on the first beat. Played a C minor chord there, and then the last note in that measure is an E. And if you play the C minor chord, which you don't have to, it'll sound fine without it. But if you decide to play the C minor chord, which I really liked, then that last E note has to be a flat. So you'll want to put a flat sign in front of the E. And that's the only place I did that. It comes up, that phrase comes up 2 more times in the song, and I only played that E flat and C minor 1 time, but I thought it was neat to start the song like that. And the next measure, I'm on line 3. If you have my copy, and I'm on measure 2, the lyrics are, that's the story of. And the reason I'm doing it with lyrics is to kind of help you in case you have a different copy than I have. It's probably the easiest way to follow along. I'm going to take my lesson after next week, and hopefully I'm going to be able to scan and then screen share, so that you could be looking at what I'm looking at. But, Rome wasn't built in a day. So hang in there with me. I'll get there. I have too many assignments right now to learn it in the next 2 weeks. But after that, I'm going to be sure to learn it. I almost had a date with Sean yesterday, and I was going to do some other things that I was having a little bit of an issue with. And then he got tied up and I got tied up and we missed our date. So, but he's going to help me with that. So I'm on the 3rd line, measure 2. That's the story of. And on store, which is a B note, I played an E minor 7th. E as in Edward, minor 7th. Frequently, if you recall, you have a G chord. It can naturally, very frequently, go to an E minor 7th. So that's what I did. And if you get to an E minor 7th, the next chord in that progression, and it's going to be at the first beat of line 4, instead of a D chord, I'm playing an A minor 7th. And the A minor 7th then moves the progression to D7, which I put the D7 on beat 3, which is an A note. So I'm going to stop right here for a moment to see if you have questions for me.
Joni, on line 4, you said instead of the D, play A minor 7. Is that by the rest or?
Yes.
Okay. And then when you get to the second A, I guess it's beat 3, D7.
Is in dog 7. That's correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joni,
Yes.
my internet is a little unstable, so I went out for a second. Did you say on line 3, the first note, the D, where it says break, you make that a C minor?
No. First I played the C chord.
Okay.
And then on the third beat, that's where I played a C minor chord. And if you play the C minor chord, then the last note E has to be a flat.
Okay, thank you.
And if some of you are wondering why, the reason for that is because a C minor chord is made up, the triad is made up of C, E flat, and G. And so if you played an E in your right hand and you were playing the minor in the left, which includes that E flat, yuck. Those two notes are right next to each other. It would not sound good. So we had to make that note a flat. But I only did it that one time in the music.
Johnny, there's an alternate chord for that also. It's a C sharp diminished 7th, and that way you don't have to change the E to an E flat.
Yes, but you would have to play it in root in order to get the correct bass.
Yep.
That's a
And
problem.
then on the next measure where you play the E minor, that can be a G sharp diminished 7th going to the A minor on the next measure.
Well, we're going to try to keep it a little bit more simple, Stan.
Okay.
Because we do have a lot of people that are playing easy play and they're not ready for the diminished 7 flat 5 9 13.
Okay.
But I get it. I get it that you could make it even better with those chords, but we're going to try to just keep it a little bit more simple. So, but thank you for your suggestions. On the next measure of the last line on this page, it's a G note and there's a G chord, which I played. And then in the same measure, so on beat 3, I played an E minor chord again. And then on the tie of the next measure, I played an A minor. And then on the rest,
Johnny,
yes.
my copy doesn't follow the same sequence as yours. Could you keep doing the words?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So my last line is that's the glory of love. So on the measure that has the word love, on the third beat, I'm doing E minor. On the tied note, which goes into the next measure, I played A7. And on the rest, just before the lyrics start, you've got to, on the rest, that's where I played the D as in dog 7. Okay.
Did you say A7? Because first you said A minor.
Yeah,
A minor.
yes, you did.
A minor. Did I say A7?
Yeah, now you said A7, but first you said A minor over the tied note.
Minor, no A7, A minor.
Okay, thank you.
So then the lyrics begin again. You've got to laugh a little, cry a little. And then the next measure is before the clouds roll. I did the same thing as I did in the beginning of the song. I played the G chord on the first beat. And on the third beat, I played the G7. Like I said, you will hear it more pronounced if you're not using a rhythm. However, if you record yourself and just listen, even just listen to the chords themselves, just record that, you will hear a difference in detaining that seventh. And I think we try to slam in sevenths a little too often. So they kind of lose their value. It's a great chord. It's a leading chord. But if you overuse it, like anything else, too much is not always a great thing, right? Okay. So now I'm going to, before the clouds roll by a little, that's the glory of love. And in that measure, there's a G as in George chord. And in the same measure, I also added a G as in George major seventh just before the tie, which then moves my major seventh to a regular seventh. So if you are an easy play player, a G major seventh is G and F sharp, and a G7 is G and F. So it's just 1/2 step different. If we go on with the lyrics, as long as there's the two of us, we've got I don't have lyrics on the bottom of my page, sorry. The notes are D, D, E, C sharp. Above the E, I played an F sharp chord. Now keep in mind, an F sharp chord is a one note chord. You just play the F sharp. So everybody can do that. And then on the second measure, it's a dotted half note, which is a D as in dog. I played a G chord there. And in the same measure, I then played a G7. And I'll go on to where I do have lyrics. Sorry about that. Top of my page is through with us. And then we've got each other's arms. And this is a place, and I'll go back to change sounds, but this is a place before you start, you've got to win a little, because this is back to the theme of the song. This is a place where you could transpose up 1/2 step. And so we have, you've got to win a little, lose a little, and always have. That's where I played the G7 once again. Always have the blues a little. That's the store. Store is a B note. B is in boy. I played an E minor there. Story of, on the first beat of the measure, which is a quarter rest, I played an A minor seventh. On the third beat, which is glor for glory, it's an A eighth note. I played D as in dog 7. And then I finished the song. Now, going back, I did a tag ending on this. That's the story of, that's the glory of love. And using those chords, you can do that 2 or 3 times if you prefer. But the tag ending made it a little more complete. So,
Joanie,
yes.
could, on that page, I must have missed something. The fourth line, you said something about an E minor over the story, like STO.
Yes.
But what did you play the G over the rest there?
Yes.
G and then E minor. And what about the next line?
A minor seventh.
Oh, okay. Over the rest?
Correct. And then on the third beat, the A eighth note, that's where I went ahead and played the D as in dog 7.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have a question? No? Okay. So, like I said, the way I know the song is not the real slow version. I knew it with a background, and the two backgrounds I really have enjoyed using. One, I use Society, which falls under on most instruments Broadway button, but the rhythm is called Society. But the real way I learned the song was with Mr. Showman, and that's just great. Now, with Mr. Showman, that's one of those signature styles. And so when I use Mr. Showman and play that for you, that's going to be with intro 2, not intro 1, because I don't want the signature intro. And then the two things I enjoyed doing with this, especially in the beginning, because I'm going to take it so that in the beginning of the song, I did not use a rhythm. I chose to play it with the easy button, and two categories that, or one category that I found worked really well for this was the lush category. So if you have categories, sounds, I'm sorry, um, there's a lot of really great ones in lush. There's many others, especially on the newer instruments. We have the vocals. We have what's that called on the what's it called on the aria? The vocal love. No, not. I guess on a marquee too. Love songs. Those sounds are beautiful too. But if you have some basic categories, you will have a lush category, and those sounds are really terrific.
Joanie,
Yes.
at what point did you then come in with the sounds?
That's what I was just getting ready to tell you.
Oh, sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
No, you're fine. You're fine. No problem. So the song goes, you've got to give a little, take a little, and let your poor heart break a little. That's the story of, that's the glory of love. That's the first section of the song. Now it's going to repeat. That's that AA that we talk about. That's where I was going to add the rhythm. Just before it starts over, you've got to laugh a little, cry a little, but the theme of the melody is the same. So now I want to hear something different. So I'm going to bring in my rhythm style at that point in time. I'm also going to change my sound. I love choir stage ooh. On my instruments here, it's number 169, and I put it in every place I can put it because the more you have, the better strength it is. And so for no rhythm, the no rhythm part, that's the sound I'm using. There's just something about those sounds, not that I couldn't get in love songs and vocals. I could get sounds that good, if not better. But what I have the capacity for today, um, and I'm on a Prestige Plus right at the moment. I'm going to use choir stage ooh to start out, and then I'll go to the rhythm presets or style setups that are conducive and offered by the style that I choose. Okay, another place I change sounds. So I'll start at the beginning so you can follow the lyrics. You've got to give a little, take a little, and let your poor heart break a little. That's the story of, that's the glory of love. Enter rhythm. You've got to laugh a little, cry a little, before the clouds rolled by a little. That's the story of, that's the glory of love. Now, the word as long as there's the two of us, that's the bridge. So I'm going to change my sound there before I come in with the word as, which is a G as in George note. And then lastly, but not least, as long as there's the two of us, we've got the blah, 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 blah. I don't have the lyrics. Through with us. We've got each other's arms, and then it's going to bring the theme back again. very, very orderly, this song. That's where I'm going to maybe add a rhythm, maybe take off a rhythm, use my transpose, 1/2 step up, and change my sound definitely in my right hand because now I'm winding down to the end of the song. Questions before I play for you? Very nice song. Very, very well done. And I figured we were starting with October, so I wanted to give you something that wasn't too hard, but encourage you to play an arrangement. And each day, my philosophy is your instrument gets turned on first thing in the morning and stays on. And every day you play a song or songs, depending on your time, for fun. And every day play one arrangement because the feeling you get is different, totally different. One feels like an accomplishment. One feels like this is a great. I have such a ball, fun hobby, terrific. But you need both sides to balance you out. And I'm a advocate, as you know. I think you should play several times a day. I don't think that you have to play for an hour. Although if an hour goes by, good for you. You must have been having a grand time. So that's super. But I think it's more important that you play just like you take your medicines and just like you know, none of you, I'm sure, but some have coffee in the morning and some might have iced tea in the afternoon and some have cocktail time at 4 o'clock. I do know that. I've heard that. And then they have something at the end of the night as well. Well, it's the same kind of thing with play in the music because the more you're attached and the more your fingers go to those keys, even if it's just for one tune, that's what keeps it fun and moving for you, whereby you will not get bored. So the frequency to me is very, very important. And I touch the instruments at least 4 times a day, if not more. I don't hang around there long. I don't have a lot of time, as you know. I have all this admin work and oh, and did I tell you I fired the janitor? Anybody want to respond to that?
Why?
So you're also the janitor now, right?
I never had a janitor. That's the problem. Yes, I am the janitor myself. So, but I say that tongue in cheek just to say I go to the instrument frequently. Maybe it's to figure out a chord, or maybe in my mind I go, oh, I wonder if I use this sound, if it'll sound great. And I may go there just for a few minutes. And then I go on and do all the other phone work and admin work and everything that I have to do. But the frequency keeps me at it. It keeps me going. So I know it will do the same for you. So without further ado, I'm going to move on here so I can play for you. I'll start with Society. However, the arrangement I wanted to make for this is that I'm going to do a combination where I'm starting with no rhythm and then I will get to a rhythm. And
I
I'm,
know.
I'm thrilled to have this microphone that I have around my ear. The only problem is the bass. The bass is made for men because you have to have a belt to hang it on. And if you're wearing dress clothes as a lady, other than your chest, there's nothing to hook it into. That's a little complicated. So I just sit it right next to the instrument here for you to be able to hear me, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to start, once again, I'm going to be starting with Fire Stage Ooh, 196, put it in 2 places. And what I did was I took my upper octave orc down 1. That lowers the octave because I'm going to play on the upper higher, but I didn't want the screechy sounds. So I go ahead and I lower the octave. And I'm going to start with the easy button. And then I'm going to move on and put the style on. Okay? So here we go. On my easy button, I'm going to make sure that the memory is off. And the reason for that is because if I want to break in the sound where it's quiet, the only way you can get that is to have your memory turned off. If your memory is on, the chord will hold, even though you might want the silence at the time. Okay? How's that? Comments, questions?
Joanie,
Yes.
did you do the glissando on that first page, or did you save it for later? I missed it if you did it on the first.
I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't hear it either.
I might have forgotten.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
I'll tell you what the difference is. I make my notes,
Hear it.
and I can't use the word.
You made it what?
I'll tell you what the difference is. I make my notes on another piece of paper.
Oh,
But when we're recording, I have to use the book. You can't use copied music. Copied music is illegal. And so I use the book, which I don't have any of my notes in. So I have to go on my memory as to how I do it. And that's how I do it, because I thought about it a week or two ago, and I thought, these are being recorded and then they're being put on YouTube. And it's an issue sometimes with copyrighted music, and or copied music should never be shown. So I make a point of using the book, but my notes are on a piece of paper. I just want to go through society with you.
What's your tempo, Joanie?
Whatever it came on at. I already moved off of it. I'll go back and check it for you. Society is coming on at 112, which sounds reasonable. So I won't go through the whole first part without the rhythm. This time I'll just go ahead and do the rhythm for you. But again, this is intro 1. And this is intro 2. It came on at 112 and I'm slowing it down. I feel like it's a little pushy. So I'm down to about 102.
Is that for society yet?
Yes, yes, yes. And if you recall, I'm an advocate of wanting to hang in there with the ending and play along with it, even if it's one note or the last note or whatever. I always want to be a part of it because if you're not, and I've seen many people, they start picking up their music while the ending's playing and they're walking away in a student concert or whatever. And from an outside point of view, if someone was watching, they'd go, wow, that's like a player organ, isn't it? We don't want them to think that. We want them to think we're doing all of it ourselves. So hang in there till the very last beat, if you will. Questions or comments or both, please.
What rhythm did you use the second time? Was that Mr. Showman?
No, the first one was Mr. Showman, and the second one was Society.
Oh, that's the opposite of what I had. Okay. Okay.
And if I'm talking to any person who is on the easy products, we know what the limitations of the easy products are. We also know how great the sounds and the backgrounds are. So we just have to kind of find, we don't necessarily on a lot of the easies, we don't have a Broadway, but we can find another substitution of a rhythm style that will work. Will it be perfect? No, most things aren't perfect, but we can find a substitution that will still make it sound very, very good. I can put a brand new person on an easy one today and who's never played a note in their life and get them to play a Marianne or Ode to Joy, and they sound magnificent and they don't even know anything about what they're doing. So the instruments is what really is going to make us sound great. But I would very, very much encourage you to record, even if you just record the left hand to hear. Now, on several of the, I was using rhythm preset and or style setup, depending on what yours is called. And on several of those that I chose, it had a harmony on. When the harmony's on, if you record and you play like that G chord, and then later, 2 beats later, you play the G7, that affects the harmony. So you can hear it not only in your left hand chord, you can hear it in your right hand as well. And it's very meaningful instead of just slamming into a seventh chord. I like to kind of give each one its due, and it's a great sound to add the seventh 2 beats later, especially in the harmony section.
Joni, the previous person asked the question, but I didn't get the information. You added Mr. Showman at the bottom of the first page. Okay, and then when did you change to Society?
I did not.
Oh, you,
The first time I played it with Mr. Showman, and the second rendition was with Society. Yeah, I didn't mix the rhythms. However, you could do that. Try that this week, where we transpose. We try the other rhythm, and maybe it'll even work.
oh,
I haven't really thought to do that, but I think it's a great suggestion to check it out.
okay. So what you're saying is you played it all the way through with the same rhythm then?
Correct.
Okay. Because it sounded like you changed like your presets some couple of times.
I did change the presets.
Okay.
That's true.
But the rhythm you kept the same.
The rhythm, but now probably sometime today in my spare time, I'm going to come here and try to incorporate both those rhythms and see other arrangements, but I didn't really think about doing it on the Glory of Love anyway.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? It's really important for me that I be as thorough as I can in any presentation I do, because I don't want anybody to walk away saying, I have no idea what she was talking about, or, which is why I try to give a lot of time and room for questions, and I try to answer them as succinctly as I can, because in my opinion, with my personality, one of the worst feelings you can have is frustration because you don't understand something. And what happens when you're frustrated is you kind of give up, and I've had a lot of really hard lessons since we began, came back and opened up and we began with this Zoom and all. There was so many times when I just wanted to give up because I couldn't work the mixer and the equipment, and fortunately Robert is a incredibly patient person, but I frustrated more easily and wanted to give up myself, and he never did. And for that reason, I obviously am very determined. I kept at it, and I learned it, but it's made it more surreal to me, having been through this myself. And I just don't want anybody walking away frustrated. And if you are, my phone should be ringing any second for you to ask me questions, and I'd be happy to help you. Yes, go ahead. Is that Pam?
Yes, hi, Joanie. I had a distraction. On the second page, the last two lines, can you give me what the chording you did on there? I know you made changes. I've got an F sharp someplace, and that was all I got.
That's
So,
on my last line. The second to last line, the lyrics are, long as there's the two of us, we've got the,
right,
okay, so the notes are in that first measure. It's a G chord with D, D, D as in dog, and then an E note. That's where the F sharp chord is.
the E. Oh, okay. So nothing on the third line there. You didn't, not the line before it. You didn't change anything on that one.
No, I did not.
Ah, that's where I got it wrong then.
And I-
Okay, that's the only chord there that you changed?
In the next measure, I added a G over the D note,
Okay,
and then in the same measure, I added G7.
G7. Okay, okay, got it. Thank you.
So like all these tips that we're doing, like, and I wanted to ask you as a question, I know we're totally out of time right now, but if you don't want to just end on a G chord at the end of the song and you want something a little more final, what chord could I play? Anybody know?
F? Something with an F?
Nope.
No.
Wait,
Totally else.
G6 if you want.
Yeah, I'm thinking about something more dramatic.
See,
So, yes, very good, Octavia. So if we have a G chord, we can go to a C chord and then go back to a G chord. That's
Right.
that's a nice
Oh.
way of ending the song. And
Okay.
I didn't give you that in the music, but because I want you to be taking these tips and saying, actually, what I played was, let me put it back on for a second, just on the easy button. I played G, C, C minor, G. I made it move through twice. But I figure you all know that, so I didn't want to bore you. It's always fun being with you. I love our group. Thank you for being on. Again, we were not having a class next week because Robert has other things that you're going to be doing. But the following week, we'll circle around back, and I don't know what the song will be, but I'll try to make a point of sending it in the email ahead of time so that you do know, since it's going to be 2 weeks.
It would be helpful to know ahead of time.
I'll do my best.
Thank you.
All right. You all have
Thank you. Great class.
very
thank
well.
you so much. I enjoyed the class.
Great
Thanks,
class.
Joni.
Thanks,
You.
Joanie.
Good job, Joni.
Yep.
Good.
Hey, Dan. Have a great day.
You
Take
too.
care of you.
You.
Bye now.
Bye.
Keep well.
Take care of yourself.
You.
Hang in there.
Yeah.
Both hands.